Hello, everyone. So, I just posted this on my socials. About a year and 8 months of strategery just paid off. And I'm going to explain what the heck I mean by that here. So, today was a regular meeting of the Ada County Republican Central Committee. And I was tipped off that a certain thing was going to be discussed. I was not told, however, that somebody was going to require an executive session. Now, just for the viewers' edification here, because some people might not know what executive session means under our Robert's Rules, is that Robert's Rules means that you kick out all of the voting members, and it's supposed to be a private meeting where you're not supposed to talk about what you actually said, or what was actually done in executive session. So today they needed to go into executive session about a thing that had been brought up last meeting, and the thing was a collection of receipts and details of some of the bad things that had been done to the Ada County GOP right at around the time that the Victor Miller cult had rage quit back in 2023. In fact, it was about October 5th, 2023. That item probably would have been a bigger story at the time here locally. Problem being, though, however, well, this is not so much of a problem as it is just a very big detail about the matter, is that 2 days later, Hamas started a war with Israel, and so the news was naturally covering more of that. So, yeah, that's the reason why a lot of this did not get in front of a lot of people at the time. But, and that's fine, that's just the natural way of things. So, but, some things did go back and forth in public and whatnot, including a lot of stuff having to do with very suspicious-looking refunds and other ways in which the previous administration of the Ada County GOP had exfiltrated a lot of money, and there were some misdeeds that were also documented beforehand and whatnot, and a lot of, at the time when I was on the Central Committee, that we felt that we were not getting a whole lot of information, and we wanted a financial review done into things. The same thing was requested anyway earlier in the year because of things that were happening, and so what happened though is that the actual report just kind of fizzled out, and a lot of people weren't actually, even though they rightly should have been, they weren't told of what was in the receipts and whatnot. And while there isn't a big expose necessarily there are some things that the Central Committee should have absolutely been aware of. So that came to a head today. And one of the things that I've been talking with friends here locally, politically, in the meantime, since that day, October 5th, 2023, was what the previous administration was able to do on their way out should not be able to happen again. So, one of the things I did when, in fact, I think I was wearing almost the same getup. It was like an orange shirt, still a Burger King crown, because we did celebrate that night, because Victor Miller had resigned. So what happened was, is that I immediately went home and okay, I gotta start thinking of the future and whatnot, and some things, some things that bad things are happening. How do I prevent those bad things from happening again, kind of thing. And one of the things I wrote up, because we've been talking about it, in the background, is how do we prevent donations and other bad reasons for money exfiltration from happening again? Well, one of the ways that I cooked up right then and there is, well, cooked up makes it sound like I'm doing something false, which I am definitely not. Is make a rule about the donation refunds, where we should only do refunds if the law requires us to, or if the Ada County GOP has at least 2/3 of its members agree to it. 2/3 is a high bar, but it's not unobtainable if there's a good reason to refund. And that was the that was the rule. And the thing is that I've been talking about it back and forth. It's just the timing was never right about this kind of thing. Now, and there's complicated political crap going on in the meantime as to why that is. But then, an interesting thing happens today is that those very receipts, those very details, they were talked about again today. And if the Central Committee wants to either release them or at least have them be available to, for PCs to view and whatnot. And so this comes up again, apparently, during that time. And I can only infer this because a couple different people start texting me about that very thing. It's like, hey, Matt, didn't you have that thing that we were talking about for a while? Well, yes, I do. In fact, so I'm waiting I'm waiting a while, and then as I'm walking back in, I'm like, wait a minute, yeah, I do. I can probably pull that up on my iPad really quick. I just need like a PC or two to sign on to this. I'm not a PC, so I can't do it myself, but I could just get a couple of people who are on that committee, and the very little that I do know about what just happened is that there's probably going to be even more motivation. I mean, by that point there probably was enough anyway, but there is even more because of whatever there was. Well, it's not all that much of a mystery as to what was actually discussed in the executive session. Even when nobody talked about it, it was still pretty obvious what was going on. So after they're making a recommended motion afterwards, when they call back in when they're not in executive session anymore, and I hear what that motion is about, and these and then I look again at those texts I have, and again I'm like, okay, I'm bringing it back. I am bringing back the donations refund policy back. And so I get some people to say, hey, yeah, are you going to do this? Yeah, let's do this. And then there was a small fight in the background about who gets to actually introduce it. Ended up settling on Steve Bender. And he's given me the permission, even though I wrote this, he's the one that's actually submitting it, and so it technically belongs to him. And then at the next meeting is going to be, it's going to be, when it's brought up. And there's another detail about the timing of that is also going to be interesting, because something else happened today, which I'll mention briefly. But this is the donation refunds article. I've had this ready for a year and 8 months. A year and 8 months. The donation refunds article. This is one of my babies. It says, what this is: amend the Ada County Republican bylaws with a new Article 11. I think there isn't an 11.1 yet, so that I think this can be, but if there needs to be a number change there, we can change that. That's not going to be an issue. That's barely a thing. And it's going to amend it as follows. Article 11, donation refunds. No refunds of donations to the Ada County Republican Party shall be granted or given except for as allowed by Idaho Code or by a 2/3 vote of the Ada County Republican Central Committee. And then, of course, I'm so bold as, as the format that I'm still using. I say the what this does and the why. The what this does is this allows donation refunds unless Idaho says we have to. You know, got to put that catch-all in right there, because otherwise we could get into a little bit of a sticky situation with the law if we don't put that in there. Or at least 2/3 of the Central Committee agree. Now, if for say some reason there is a good reason to refund, then somebody should be able to articulate that reason and be able to get 2/3 to agree with you. Because of that. Now the why. That wording has remained unchanged in the document that I had in my iCloud account since October 5th, 2023. This says, the money belonging to the Ada County Republican Central Committee should be under their control, and that very Central Committee should at no times be in the dark about its finances. And that's what, and as far as the whole story on why I'm being so spicy with that particular one, well, I've already kind of covered it on my channel here. So here is a list of about 3 videos to get you more up to speed on on all that. Now, 2 of these videos down here, down there. 2 of those videos, there's more than just the pertinent details that are covered in those videos. You're entirely welcome to watch the whole thing if you want, but the relevant stuff will start like at the second one there. The channel updates October 6th, you know, the next morning. Started about 22:56 in. Now the next video, how we got here addendum, covering a lot of the same stuff as that day, but you started about 9:04, and if you watch those things that are down there, you'll have a good idea on what's going on. And that's really, and so this donation refunds article, this is going to be up at the next meeting, which it's not going to be July. We're taking July off because July 3rd, because the next one would be July 3rd, and July 3rd is Idaho's birthday. We can take Idaho's birthday off, and then the next day would be July 4th, which we're America's birthday. We're really not taking that one off. Well, we're really not going to be having a meeting that day. Just not going to do it. So just skip a little bit of time. That's fine. It also enables us to have more time for this to be out there in writing to be given to PCs. So I'm really pleased with myself and those close to me. And I'll just, for giggles, I'll read this again because this is going to be really important later. Article 11, donation refunds. No refunds of donations to the Ada County Republican Party shall be granted or given except for as allowed for by Idaho Code or by a 2/3 vote of the Ada County Republican Central Committee. Now, internally in the background, a name was given to this. Not the name that I gave it back in October of 2023. Not that name. See, that's the name. But there's another name that we're calling to it. And I was commenting to my brother on my way out that this feels a lot like the this. See, I've been here before. So yeah, I come up with a rule, a very, very necessary rule, and it is a very, very necessary rule because of the bad actions of a person. And in the background, we named the amendment after the person who's causing us the grief right now. But this feels like the situation because of the Don Hatch rule. Now, The Don Hatch rule I've already talked about a bunch on this channel. In fact, about a year ago, I did a rule in the middle of the convention about my guilt and the Don Hatch rule. I tell that story about it, and how some people around me didn't want me calling it the Don Hatch rule. It's Article 3, Section 6 of the state rules of the Idaho Republican Party. That's the Don Hatch rule, meaning that, you know, if you're a region chairman and you fail to do a reorganization meeting if you fail to schedule one, well, now your seat is vacant and the state chair has to now come in and do stuff. So that's the Don Hatch rule. Now, there's a person whose name I've probably already mentioned by at least twice now in this video, and I have definitely mentioned in these two, in these other videos. Let's see, where did it go? I've definitely mentioned in these other videos here that we internally started calling this amendment. Now, I am not going to necessarily say the unofficial name, since donation refunds article is the name. I've been told not to refer to it as its unofficial name, so I won't. Another amendment. And so yeah, I think I'll just leave it there. And it just goes to show to you, you should absolutely prepare for certain kinds of contingencies, because the contingencies might come up. And you know what? There are a lot of things that absolutely shouldn't be screwed around with. Our money is definitely one of those. Some people screw it around. And we're not going to forget that. So anyway, y'all have a good night. Blessings.